Welcome, everyone. It is Saturday, January 15th. Let's start over. All right, 3. Welcome, everyone. This is the Saturday edition, January 15th, of the NCAA Basketball Daily Dime Show, powered by the Predictive Playbook and presented by SportsMemo TV. And, of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Jesse Schule, and Dr. Chuck, who promise will have you more than covered for this edition of the College Basketball Show, which on Saturday has well over 100 games to talk about. But we're only going to talk about 5. And we're going to start right now with Dr. Chuck's breakdown of the Oral Roberts Golden Eagles and the Kansas City Roos. They are playing in Kansas City at the Swinney Recreation Center. That starts at 8 o'clock this evening. The Oral Roberts is 11-6, 9-4-1 against the number. Kansas City is 8-6 straight up, 4-7 against the number. This game is lined with the Roos from Winnie and Pooh fame, I guess, plus 4.5. The over/under is 146.5. Dr. Chuck, where should we put our hard-earned money in this matchup?
So hopefully, as you're watching this, the line's not screaming as upward as it has since last night when I put out to my clients a little bit of a slightly better number. But I would play this all the way up to 148. Oral Roberts, as you remember, we've discussed multiple times in multiple situations on Manny's Pub and maybe even this show. You know, this is the same Oral Roberts team that upset Ohio State last year as a 15 and then kept that run going. A couple of studs in Asmus and O'Banner. O'Banner went to Texas Tech and left the sharpshooting kid all by himself. But this Paul Mills team runs. They want to get up and down the floor, chuck the ball. They run at about the 30th fastest pace. They don't turn the ball over, shoot threes at a rampant pace, but also don't force turnovers to the opponent. Kansas City's kind of been a team that I was pretty excited about backing at the beginning of the season. I know some other guys at Wager Talk and SportsMemo were as well. Good transfer portal job by Billy Donlin. Got, kids from all over the schools, some of the better players, especially Evan Gilliard from New Mexico State. Just hasn't looked that great. They're coming off of a win against Nebraska Omaha where they only beat them by 3 and have kind of been lacking on offense. It's the kind of defense that you want to face. Oral Roberts is favored for a reason because they played much better. But this should be an up and down, back and forth type game. Kansas City has the scoring potential. They should be able to get the ball in the hoop. And Oral Roberts doesn't have the desire to not beat you 70 or even 70. So I think even though this opened in like the 142, 143 range and it's screaming upward because Oral Roberts is an over machine, I still think it's got value. You can get it below 150. Do your best. Find your best outs. If you want to look differently, if it does move the full 10 points, I won't know if I would play it above 150, honestly, as hard as I would below that. But I do think that this is a game that, especially late, as Kansas City, the opponent on the line. If Oral Roberts is leading, they will go to the line, and Asmus hasn't missed there either. And so I think you're going to get a lot of in the last 5 minutes. It could be one of those 30, 35 point 5-minute spots. And so I think you're going to get good value on this over. But get it at 146, 147 if you can.
That's good stuff. And the Eagles are 5-0. Last 5 games as a road favorite of not more than 6.5 points. So that bodes pretty well for the over 2. And you would not bet it if it goes above 150, Chuck?
I don't know if I would do like 3-4 unit play. It's just this is a value game. I mean, if you're ready to pop it as soon as your account opens, if you got 143, it's hard to say. Yeah, go slam the same number at 150. So it's just one of those spots. But there's going to be a lot of points in this game. It's not a game where the winner of this game has 60-some points.
Gotcha. Well done. Let's move with Jesse Schule's first pick, and that is Stanford Cardinal is traveling to Alaska Airlines Arena, which means they're playing the Washington Huskies. This is a Pac-12 matchup, obviously, and Washington is 7-7, 6-8 against the spread, 6-8 over/under. Stanford's off to a 10-4 start, but they haven't really played more than 2 games, I believe, in the last 3 weeks. And they are 7-6 with 1 push against the number. Over/under is 8-6. Line for this game, Jesse, is Washington -1 with a total of 142. Where should we put our hard-earned money in this one?
Well, John, you mentioned that Stanford's only played 2 games recently, but one of those was a big one. They upset USC. They scored 75 points in that game, made a lot of noise, but that's not the norm for this Stanford team. They've scored just 62 points in their next game against Washington State, and they're only averaging 67 points a game over their last 5 overall. And they're facing a Huskies team that also doesn't score a lot of points. The Huskies have just averaged 66 points per game in their last 5. The Huskies are actually a far better defensive team at home. They're only allowing 67 points per game on their home court here. And I think this is a situation where both these teams are content to play at a slower pace. The history between the two teams would indicate as such. The under is just 2-2 in the last 4 head-to-head meetings. However, the total was below 140 in 3 of those 4 games. And we got a total of 142 here. You might even be able to get a 142.5. The Huskies have gone under in 11 of their last 14 home games. And I just think this one's going to be a bit of a sloppy defensive game.
And I completely agree with you, Jesse. I'll just add the fact that field goal percentage by the Washington Huskies ranks 334th out of 358 Division I basketball teams. They are shooting only 39.6% from the field, and I'm not making fun of them. It's just not good. They're 307th in three-point field goal percentage. And despite ranking 71st in field goals attempted per game, they don't make near enough. And Stanford, as you said, their pace is turtleish. That they plod it, their ranking is 305th in field goals attempted per game. And I definitely agree with you. I think this easily goes under the total and maybe by double digits when all is said and done. Nice work.
I'll add one thing, too, just for that play as well, is, as far as the Stanford goes and what have we seen recently, that was not – everything pointed to fading Stanford against Washington State. They beat USC on their home court. They didn't do anything. Kyle Smith has a real problem in the second half. They're his team's 9-7, and they've led at the half of 15 of the 16 games they've played. They just come out in the second half and they said, Stanford, take this. We're up by 12, take this win. And so I think the bettors are being confused, but they shouldn't even have had 62 points. Like Stanford should have probably had 55 points in that game. And so even just that small margin is ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we got that one down. Pick number 3 is going to Dr. Chuck here. He has been examining the Colorado Buffaloes Arizona State Sun Devils matchup again in the Pac-12. This is at the Desert Financial Arena, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard start. Colorado comes into this fray 11-4, but only 4-9-2 against the number. Over under 7-8. The Sun Devils are 5-8 straight up for the season against the spread 5-7-1. Over under is 10-3 to the under in Arizona State Sun Devils games. Tell us where to put the hard-earned money in this one, Chuck.
Look at us back in the Pac-12 again. So if I sound like a broken record, it's because I'm on a show or I'm on a writing a play up and I am fading Colorado. It seems I know that it seems like that hasn't worked out. We got the one last time, and that was a good win. Arizona is in a whole nother level than the Colorado Buffaloes. But this is one of those. And this is, like I said, I've said this on the shows regularly. This is a premium play. I've already put this play out. I put the play out last night. Yes, I am usually waiting for Colorado lines to pop up, and pick them is ridiculous. This is an 11-4 team that is going to face a 5-8 team. And what does anybody know about Bobby Hurley and the Sun Devils? It's a dumpster fire down there, right? It's a dumpster. There's no Marcus Bagley. I'm assuming they just they pigeonhole this poor guy into figuring out where the hell Marcus Bagley is. The dude's not playing for this team again. He's playing in the NBA next. Like, I'm sorry for Sun Devils fans. Now Jalen Graham is hurt, which pretty much means that Jabari Walker and Evan Batty should have their way on offense in the paint. and Bobby Hurley is being faded. This team had serious COVID problems. He got COVID, and then supposedly Marcus Bagley got COVID, and that was a knee issue that would change to COVID, and so they're trying to give him hope that he's coming back. He's not. And this is a team that is almost getting points, and so it's basically a general principle. Colorado's losing this game. I think they're way overvalued in the market. Their luck rankings at Ken Pom and Bart Torvik are through the roof, and there's a reason for that. And I think this is just one of those spots where you get a 5-8 team that probably the public thinks is about 2-11, and they're hosting a team that has double-digit wins. Colorado should probably be laying 4 or 5 points just by the optics. And so I'm taking the Devils to win it maybe easily, and probably because of the contrarian point of what you brought up, a little bit on the over as well.
Yeah, I like it, Chuck. I like it a lot. Colorado is not a good team. I'm actually looking at some of their games here. They pushed against Cal Santa Barbara, 60-46. The results are just not really fun to read right now.
They got Kyle Smith, another game where Washington State led at the half on the road in Boulder, and then Wazoo comes out and just pees all over themselves.
Yeah.
Colorado Buffaloes are I don't know what the term is. LSU might be in this camp too, but they're an 11-4 team that has no business being 7-8.
I think the term you're looking for is wet the bed.
Yeah. I mean, it clearly looks like Arizona State's the line is way off, in my opinion. And I agree with you guys that Arizona State is definitely the play here. Again, it's a game. I wouldn't be surprised to see them, win by double digits. This is a great setup in a situation to bet against Colorado for sure. All right, let's move on to pick number 4 and Jesse Schule's second pick of the day. And this one is also in the Pac-12. We're looking at the Oregon Ducks, who are taking on the Southern Cal Trojans, who have been playing extraordinarily well and ranked high in the polls. 14-1 straight up, 8-7 against the spread. So the market has priced them effectively, despite their outstanding start. The over/under is 7-8. Over/under in Ducks games so far, 10-6 against the spread. They're 5-11, 10-6 overall. Line for this game sees number 7 ranked USC as a 6.5-point home favorite. Total is 141.5. Right off the top, Jesse, 6.5. It feels like it should be like 9.5. So tell me what's wrong with my assessment of that betting line. Maybe USC is the pick.
Yeah, John, I think your assessment is bang on. That's part of what I got written down here in my notes. The reason you say 9.5 is likely because the Ducks were getting 9.5 points in their last game against UCLA, another top 5 ranked team. Basically, quite similar. USC, UCLA, not a lot of difference there. And of course, the Ducks won outright in the big upset. But and then on top of that, USC lost as a favorite against Stanford. And all of a sudden, you got a team that's 14-1, and people are ready to bail on them and say maybe they're not as good as we think they are. And the line goes from what it should have opened at 9.5, and now it's 6.5. We see the Ducks getting, not enough points, in my opinion, against a top 5 ranked team. The history would indicate that it's going to be a tough spot for the Ducks. The home team has won 7 straight in the last 7 head-to-head meetings. And not one of those games was close. The closest game out of those 7 was decided by 9 points. USC beat the Ducks twice last year. Both those games they won by exactly 14 points. And the Ducks, they're getting a lot of hype because they had that one big win, but they are 4-10 against the spread in their last 14 overall. They're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 road games. The favorite is 10-2 against the spread in the last 12, and when you're getting a discount like this, 6.5 instead of 9.5, jump on it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I'll tell you what else I like, Jesse and Chuck, in this matchup is that I look at assist to turnover ratio and I look at each one individually. USC ranks 75th nationally, which doesn't sound all that great. It's certainly above average, for sure. They're averaging 15.2 assists per game. They play at a reasonable pace, above average. so their ball movement is superior to an opponent who, is Oregon is just not good with ball movement. They rank 264th in the nation, averaging just 12.1 assists per game. You drag in turnovers per game, clear edge to the ball handling skills of Southern Cal, ranking 24th, averaging just 10 turnovers per game. Oregon ranks 86th, averaging 12.5, so huge advantage there for USC. So I think this is one that I will possibly make as my best bet after I give my breakdown for the final game, which is the Pepperdine Waves are back home, thank goodness, and they are taking on Portland. And the Portland Pilots are 9-7 straight up, 9-6 against the spread. The over/under is 6-9 in their games this year. Pepperdine has had 3 straight losses against the spread. They haven't played well since getting waxed by Gonzaga, and that happens to a lot of teams. But now we're into the third game since that loss. And the Pepperdine Waves are 6-12, 7-10 against the number, 6-11 over/under. And I do like Pepperdine in this matchup, despite Portland coming in on the road with a winning record so far. There's points per game. There is an advantage to pace of play with the Portland Pilots, but Pepperdine does like to play fast. They played fast against Gonzaga, and it didn't work at all. It was not a good game by them, but that was the only chance they had to really compete against that juggernaut of a team that's always in the top 5, it seems, every single year. What I think is going to happen with Pepperdine going forward, and I want to keep this on a longer-term range, is field goal percentage. They rank 305th nationally, but I looked at every single player, the starters. These kids can shoot the ball much better than that, and I think this is an opportunity today to show that skill. And they are going up against a Pilots team that ranks 220th, making 43.5%. So really not much better than what Pepperdine has done. So I think, we talk about regression, progression. I think Pepperdine is in a tremendous bounce-back situation here. Pepperdine, despite their shooting woes, are excellent ball handlers. They move the ball around the court in the half-court set. They rank 61st nationally, averaging 15.7 assists per game. And that number is inflated a little bit because their pace of play is fast, but nevertheless, they do a good job with that. And then with turnovers, there's no advantage there at all. Both teams turn the ball over too much, but not at an alarming rate. That would get me concerned about backing Pepperdine here. And then a couple of little trends here supporting Pepperdine is the fact that Portland is 26-50 against the number when playing against a team with a win percentage not above 40% after 15 or more games of the regular season. They are 6-20 versus teams that attempt 18 or fewer free throws per game in games played the last 3 seasons. And Pepperdine is 6-0, playing against teams that attempt 21 or more three-point shots per game after the 15th game of the regular season, spanning the last 2 seasons. So that is my pick on Pepperdine. And now let's single out 1 or 2 games. I mean, you can use the same games that we just covered, and I'll put it to you. Which of these games would be your best bet for the show? We'll start with Dr. Chuck.
All right. So first, I was going to ask if we can have like a final thoughts, like Gary Springer here. But I want to first off, I want to mention that Jesse hasn't lost in the last 10 years, and so you better be careful, because get over to his website, or over to SportsMemo, sm.buzz/JS. I mean, he's got this guy. He's hurting the books. All 3 of us are doing pretty well, actually, overall. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you get this in time when you watch this. Just check us out. I love Jesse USC play because it kind of reminds me. It's a situation where I think Jesse and I were both on West Virginia the other night. Similarly, Kansas. I think people have thought they've looked iffy, and now they're laying double digits to West Virginia, who's off of a couple of nice wins. Why are they begging for West Virginia money type stuff? I like that. I think his under is spot on. I want to switch gears just a little bit. Hopefully this gets off in time. Jamar Chase, right here in the middle of my shirt, is an anytime touchdown scorer, even money today, which I think is odd. And so I think Joe Burrow is going to make it a point that this is what you're going to see, kind of what you saw against the Chiefs the last time you saw everybody together. And the last time you saw everybody together, this team put up 35 points, and the Chiefs really couldn't stop them. They punted. So Jamar Chase is going to get a lot of targets, and he also can do crazy stuff with the ball. And I just think, there's a lot of value out there. There's a lot of value on points and taking the points and things like that. But if you're into props, Jamar Chase, anytime touchdown scorer is even.
Awesome stuff. Let's see what Jesse has for us.
Well, I don't disagree with what Chuck said about Jamar Chase, but I will say that I favor Joe Mixon on the anytime touchdown. I just think it's a little safer. I think, Jamar Chase might get that big play or get the big pass interference play, and then they'll hand it off to Mixon, and that's a lot more dependable for me. And Mixon did have a big game against the Raiders early. But we're here to talk about basketball today, and of course, I'm going to say my best bet is my best bet, which is USC, and I know Chuck's a big fan of that play, and I know why you guys are supporting me with that play because it just makes so much sense in the spot. However, I will rain on the parade a little bit because I had a very similar play the last time we did a show together, and that one did not pan out, unfortunately. But as Chuck mentioned, 10-0, last 10 premium picks, so I've more than made up for that.
Well, and I didn't do you any favors last time loving your Kansas play, so let's hope we have better mojo this time.
Exactly. All right, well, let's pass it on to John.
Yeah, and Dr. Chuck, I think, is on a pretty big win streak in his own right. Maybe not 10-0, but it's pretty close. So, as he said,
NBA.
Just get all three of us. My football picks are $9. I have a 5%er. That's a little bit more than $9 going tomorrow, and it's one of the games I positively, probably the one that I like the most of the entire season. And you guys know I hate hype, and I try not to do that. And that's probably the most hype you'll ever get out of me, admitting that this is one of those opportunities. I think that, Sun Tzu in The Art of War said, some battles are won before they are fought. But I will digress to the NFL, and I think you two guys are completely wrong. You never hear me say that either, do you?
Hey, I like it.
I think you take Derek Carr over passing yards, over touchdowns, over the number of times he says hut, hut. I don't care what the over is for Derek Carr. Just Derek Carr and over.
Why?
Because I think they're going to win, and they're going to score a ton of points.
Because he was 11 for 26 last week, and they happened to sneak in.
Ancient history. Ancient history.
Oh, knock it down. 2 days before we go.
There you go. This is fun. See, when I try to be a bully type host, I get it back. It's fun.
Well, and I am not saying by any means that we're going to end this drought. It's a long drought for a reason. All kinds of things have happened. And I think if it happens, Josh Jacobs is like 185 yards and we can't stop him, and Mariota, and I think Derek Carr has to get out of the way for us to lose.
Yeah. Well,
so we'll see.
If he gets a higher than average play action passes, it's going to be because of Jacobs running the ball. And him out of the play action, he extends the play, and that's where the trouble starts. But, hey, that's why it's a horse race, right?
Well, it's not. Bengals haven't had this 3-year drought because they've lacked home games. Most of the losses have been at home.
Very true. So my basketball best bet is I, too, like USC quite a bit here, and I'll add my little live in-game. By the way, folks, I did an NFL 18-minute primer. Like, if you've never bet NFL live in-game, I'm told that I'm pretty darn good at it, and I think I am. And a lot of my strategies come from my days on Wall Street as an institutional trader, and you're buying into weakness, selling into strength, and I think you'll like it quite a bit. And in the USC game even, I think there's an opportunity to do like a 50% pre-flop at 6.5. And then let's say that it doesn't start out real fast for USC, and the in-game line, I'm fairly confident you'll be able to get 3.5 at some point in the first half.
Look at the Oregon State game.
Yeah. Yep.
Turns that
So
around. Second half,
that's
they turned it around by 24.
what was that?
In the second half of that game, they turned it around by 24. They were
Yeah.
down.
Yep.
Won by double digits. They were down by double digits in the second half and won by double digits. So I mean, like,
I think the same logic will apply, John, and I'd like your opinion on this, to the football game we were talking about. If the Raiders go down early,
Yep. Absolutely.
you want to grab the Raiders. And I will
Yep.
point out the stat that I just posted on my Twitter page is Derek Carr, 30 game-winning drives, 24 fourth-quarter comebacks. He holds the record for the most fourth-quarter comebacks in his first 7 seasons, ahead of the likes of Russell Wilson. And, those are interesting numbers when he's down by 40 in the first half.
a lot of things. Yeah.
5 to come
Yep.
back.
A lot of things are based on a coin flip too, because he went right down and scored against the Chargers. So,
Yeah. I will tell you this as a little teaser here. I do have a third quarter. At the end of the third quarter, home favorites in the NFL that are trailing by no more than 7 points. Well, I'm going to be a jerk and not tell you what the results are and make you go to the show. But believe me, you'll want to go to the show because this is a money-making strategy. Kind of gave it away there without even watching the show, but I think you'll like it. But in this game here, USC is my, and I'll add the Pepperdine play as a second best bet for the college basketball show. So we did a biathlon today in sports betting with a little bit of NFL and a lot of college basketball. So, gentlemen, thanks for your time, and everyone have a great weekend. Bet with your head not over it. And always remember, may all the wins be yours. We look forward to seeing you on Monday for another edition of the Daily Dime.